very big warm welcome and thank you to all of you for carving out a precious 60 minutes on your Wednesday to join us and engage with us in what we hope is going to be an incredibly informative and powerhouse PR industry discussion. We're excited about it. Just to welcome everybody into our virtual room, I just wanted to make some introductions and to say that pretty much everyone that is joining us are either coming in as existing PRCA agency owners or like senior professionals. We've also got some of our corporate PRCA members joining. And then very importantly, we've also got a large number of second year, third year and honor students, both from CPUT in Cape Town and also joining us from UJ in Johannesburg. So thank you to all the lecturers that helped us get so many incredible students on this call so that we can have this incredible sort of industry conversation between both sides. For some of our students joining us, you may not even know what the PRCA is about, who they are and what their purpose is. So the PRCA is short for the PR Communications Association. It is a global network that's been going, forgive me, Joe, if my numbers are wrong, but it's over like 65, 70 years now that they've been in operation. Started in London, moved to the US, and it now has offices and networks all around the world. And the PRCA sort of organization was founded with 4 core goals: to raise the standards within the PR and communications industry, to provide us, their members, with insightful data in real time, to facilitate the sharing of best practice, and also to create a global networking, collaboration and opportunities between the members that belong to the network. So that is really, in short, 4 key things that the PRCA is all about. If you want to know more, you can just Google them and go onto their website, and there's a host of information that Joe's actually just shared in the chat below, where you can find them. So to all of our fellow PRCA members and to our scholars, welcome everybody. We are very excited to have you. There's over 100 people. So whilst Zoom may have unfortunately muted you on joining our room for the purpose of keeping our upfront conversation flowing and fluid, please, we really welcome all of your questions. We know that there's going to be a lot coming at us. So I would ask you to keep those questions. You'll see at the bottom of your Zoom screen, there's a little Q&A box. As and when those questions come, you just pop them in there so you don't forget. And then in the second half of our webinar, what we will do is we'll go into that Q&A and we'll start to just take some of those questions out and then field them to our various different panelists. So now, talking about panelists, we are incredibly privileged to have put together a powerhouse panel of experts, if I can say. We are joined today, and as I say, ladies, maybe you can just put your hands up so everyone knows who you are. We have got none other than Nicky James, who is the co-founder and MD of Tribeca PR, voted at the Prism Awards this year as Best Mid-Size Agency of the Year, as well as being a PRCA board member. So thank you, Nicky. Claire, we've got Claire Williams joining us as a business unit director at Accenture Song in Johannesburg, and she is also a PRCA board member. We've got Cherna Lutta, who is the operations director at Dialogue PR, and she's also the board chair of the PRCA Africa NextGen committee. So attracting and growing and nurturing youth is literally what her board role is as part of the PRCA Africa NextGen committee. And then we also have joining us today Rifqah Abrahams from CPUT. Rifqah is our media studies lecturer, and she is the student coordinator at CPUT, but her students fondly know her as their varsity mom, because her main role is assisting in helping students find some intern placements, which is a full-time job all on its own. So thank you, Rifqah, for joining us as well. And then we're hosted and powered on Zoom by Joanne Brophy, who is our International Engagement Manager for PRCA Africa. Thank you, Joe, for herding us cats together in this room of 100 odd of us. So thank you. We couldn't have done this without you. And I'm very proud and excited to be facilitating today's conversation. My name is Tracy Jones. I'm the founder and MD of Dialogue PR, and I'm also serve on the PRCA Membership and Promotions Board as chairperson. So, okay, now that we've all introduced and we know each other, just to kick things off, I'd like to maybe zoom out and just take a step back and give some context to what has brought us to this finale event almost at the end of the year in our webinar conversation. And it all started at the start of 2024, when our board, which is the PRCA Membership and Promotion Board, we're really having a chat around what are some of the biggest challenges facing the PR industry that kept coming up for each of us as agency owners and senior PR, and the biggest challenge we all could relate to was the fact that we were struggling to find really strong talent at all levels of our agencies, because client briefs were just becoming broader and broader. There was just so much that we were looking for, and to find talent, you really had to be a unicorn. So there was that sort of challenge facing agencies and corporates. And then on the other side, we had our students who were really struggling to find internships, and as part of their PR diploma, one of the core requirements of that PR diploma qualification is that you have a 12-month internship. And just to give some context, I heard an interesting stat. I think it was actually from Rifqah, so don't quote me, Rifqah, if I get it wrong. But they have every year, second-year students, they have over 95 students, second-year students, that are now all looking for a 12-month placement. And of those 95, sometimes only 20 of them find actual placement in PR environments or PR teams. The rest all find like other positions that are not specifically PR focused. So that is a huge challenge for them and for us, because eventually they qualify, they finish their qualification, and then they're going to be coming into corporates and agencies. So there was a rub, and we kind of asked ourselves, well, what could be the most meaningful thing that we can do to try and kind of, close the gap between these two elements. So we thought we'd hatch a bit of a plan of action. The first thing that we did was we sent out a survey. The PRCA organization sent it out globally, and then we sent it out within Africa and within South Africa, so that we could really get the findings of that survey, and we had some real data to work with to kind of guide us in terms of what our next steps needed to be. So we took the survey findings, we created an announcement release for that, and again, we put out the survey findings across all our networks, in the media, both locally and internationally. But more importantly, the most important piece of work that then came out of that, and I really look to Claire and to Nicky for this, because they were the authors and the architects of this. They created a charter, an internship charter, which has been developed specifically using the data from the survey, and running concurrently to that an actual playbook. And both of these two elements have been done with an agency in mind or a corporate member, as well as the intern in mind. And really what we're hoping to do, that through these two elements, we can assist and support the improvement of our industry, and specifically the internship model and programs that run across different teams in various shapes and forms, to hold ourselves accountable really to the best practice methodologies of how we as agencies and corporates can have the best systems and processes in play, that is not time onerous, but still gives the best experience to interns coming into the industry, and to really close that understanding gap between what agencies and corporate expectations are and what the interns are, in store for coming into a professional environment. So that is the safe space for mutual accountability that ensures we really have the best talent lining up to join our industry, but also with the tools and mentorship for them to thrive and grow so that they benefit and we can benefit. So that was really the premise behind why we created the charter and why we've created the playbook, with both of those sort of parties in mind. Okay, so hopefully we're all on the same page of why we're here and what we're hoping to achieve. So given all of that, I really just kind of want to jump right in. I'm going to start by asking a couple of questions just to get the webinar started. And then, as I said, please pop your questions into the Q&A, and then we can take it further from there. Okay, Nicky, so I'm going to ask the first question to you. And by the way, for those of you that haven't seen the research survey, Joe's going to pop those research survey findings into the chat as well, if you want to just have a glance at those, so you can see the data, and you'll see the announcement releases in there, just as further context while we're chatting. So Nicky, the question I really wanted to ask you was, so the research that came out of our survey suggests that there really are some strategic improvements that are needed in our PR internship programs across the board. What changes would you recommend agencies make to enhance the experience for both interns and for agency teams?
Yeah, cool. Hi, everyone. So, Tracy, I think the biggest, if we just took a step back, we went, if we don't know what's broken, we won't know how to fix this. So if we don't know what the issues are, we can't start putting measures in place to make internships and the internship experience better for both agency, corporate, and interns. So a lot of the feedback came back to us saying that interns really needed a mentor when they were assigned their internship. So once they joined the agency or the corporate team, they needed a person. They needed somebody that they could get guidance from, learn from, go to. But on the other side of the coin, we are in very high speed, high pressure environments, and an intern coming into our agency, it's not taken lightly. We know the responsibility on us. We know how much work it takes to get the intern from theory to practical, and but assigning them that person that can actually guide them. I'm not saying sit with them every single day and teach them like you're going to a lecture, but I'm not sure about this, help me with that. Am I on the right track? Is this the right thing to do? So the first thing I would recommend is a mentor, and the second thing is a structured program from the agency or corporate that the intern can follow. So it's not a case of join and wing it because you need to figure this out, sink or swim. That's not why an internship is available. An internship is so that you and I and the rest of our industry can create tomorrow's PR people. We take our internships very seriously at Tribeca, and I'm sure all of you agency environments do the same. But we have a structured program with KPIs at the end, with goals. You need to have learning outcomes. You need to know what you're doing. But we also need to teach you how to do this, because like I said, when you're learning from a textbook and then you get dumped into the real world, very, very different. The pressure's different. How you do things are different. And weirdly, every agency does it differently. While the basics might be there, we all have our own ways. So yeah, those are the two areas that I would look at.
Amazing. So you touched on something really important there, and I think it's a really interesting sort of juxtaposition between what we know as agency owners and then what Rifqah knows, being sort of, one of the lecturers at a tertiary institution. And I know that we are joined by our UJ lecturer as well, who's hopefully on the call. So perhaps we can get some takes from her side as well. But I would pose my next question to Rifqah, now being on the opposite side, to say, like, a question for you, maybe Rifqah, to share with us all is, in a perfect world on your side, what would constitute a good internship for one of your students, to equip them to come out of a theoretical environment and into a practical environment? Like, how do we close the gap between the theory side of what they're learning in textbooks, sitting in lecture halls, versus like that they are ready on sort of the first 2 months of the internship to actually hit the ground running? Like, what would that look like for you?
So for me, I have been thinking about this for the longest time. And, coming from COVID, we have seen that the dynamics of a student has changed significantly. And our students their needs are very different from what it was pre-COVID. And the type of student that we have has changed significantly because of the digital world and social media and, all the digital tools that they have access to. So for me, I've been thinking a lot about this, and it's one of the things that we also want to look at running, which is a mentorship program where our industry are taking third years as interns, but it would be nice for our third years to also become mentors for our first and second years, so that they can share their internship journey with their mentee to kind of grow them. So in a real world, if I had to really look at the perfect internship, I think sometimes our students are thrown into the deep end in the industry, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in an ideal world, these individuals still need that guidance, that mentorship, that take them through what it is that they need to do in the industry. And I think that they need a lot more hands-on experience even before they graduate. And it would be really beneficial if industry also comes on board to give them that, which is something we ran last week with Dialogue and Friday Street Club, where the students learned so much to be able to see the practical examples of campaigns that industry is running. That is so valuable, because just going through theory, and even if you go through case studies, they don't see that real life examples like laid out for them. So I think that's some of the things that I think that would benefit our students a lot. And in terms of, even interns going in, having a mentor, seeing what has happened on the ground, being more involved, because a lot of organizations use interns just as tea people, go and fetch the mail, go and do admin, and that's all great and wonderful. We've all been there once upon a time, but today's generation is not going to want to do those things on its own. They want to be involved. They want to be able to get, be part of the development, the campaign, the initiatives,
Yes.
even
Well,
if it's on a
absolutely. I mean, I think at
small
the end of the
scale.
day, 100% agree with you. And I think at the end of the day, the goal that we're all aiming for is that that intern after 12 months is so, has been given such a solid foundation that we actually appoint them into the agency as an account executive, and that becomes their first full-time role in the agency that they've just spent, 12 months. I mean, we have a number of them, and I think, most of us have had interns that we've appointed. So 100%. I think what you've touched on there, Rifqah, is a really relevant question for me to now ask to Shonday, who is an operations director. And I think she spent a lot of time sort of nurturing and mentoring and doing sessions at CPUT over the past couple of years. And I think to your point, Rifqah, I think what's an interesting overview for students to consider about is, in an agency world, we get sort of 80 CVs to 100 CVs coming in for an internship of maybe 1 or 2 per year. So the burning question that students are looking for is like, what is the internal process in an agency when receiving that volume of CVs? And given that everyone has got pretty much no skill at this point because it's all theoretical, how do you make your application for that internship stand out and get to the front of everyone's inbox and for you to be shortlisted? Like, what does it take to rise to the top when you've got this incredible competition for very few spaces? Shonday, maybe you can help answer that question for us.
Sure, thank you, Tracy. So I think our internship recruitment process generally starts around October, November of the previous year, where we open up applications and opportunities for students to come and apply for our internship positions. You'll see it all over our social media, or we often actually reach out to the institutions to let students know that there's this opportunity for them to potentially be placed for next year. So to your earlier point, Tracy, I think to stand out, because I think you can appreciate how many CVs we'll be getting in our inbox, when we open our applications. I think, there's a couple of things that I just want to reference that I think, or for me personally, and the way our agency process works, that's going to help you stand out. So I think a compelling email motivation goes a long way. A motivation that's not written by ChatGPT, but that has been carefully considered and carefully crafted. Explaining to the agency why you want to join the agency and what is it that you're going to bring as part of your internship. I think on the CV front, so just very quickly, I think, yes, there is the academic performance and there's all these accolades that you achieve, but I think something that stands out for me when I look at CV is what has the intern done that's a little bit over and above the academic requirements? Have they volunteered at a local NGO? Have they offered to run the social media pages of their church community? Have they done LinkedIn courses? Have they upskilled themselves over and above the academic requirements? Is another thing that I think shows us that you have initiative, you take initiative, you're all about personal growth and personal development, and could be something that strategically aligns with the values of that agency as well. So that's sort of what we're looking for when it comes to receiving CVs from interns.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you. Nicky, Claire, do you want to add to that? I know you're also inundated with CVs. Is there anything you want to add to Shonay's answer around like what you look for and what stands out for you personally?
Yes,
Yeah, I think, I'll jump in. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I think even, taking a step further, as you mentioned, with a strong motivation. I mean, a video motivation is also a great way to submit a CV, because a person's personality can come across in that kind of a medium, as well as their presence and how they hold space, the way they come across. So that is definitely something to look out for.
I love that.
Yeah, and I think as well, just having a broader outside of the course and the academia to demonstrate people's interests outside of the academia workspace is also great. One thing comes to mind is also, are you are you blogging? I mean, blogging as in like, are you on TikTok, Instagram? Are you engaging with different communications channels? Are you building a profile for yourself? Yeah, those are some of the examples for me that really stand out. And Nikki?
So yeah, we also we do our own research for everyone who wants to be an intern here. So please just know that your online profile is there for everyone to see, and it just takes us Googling your name and your area and you'll come up. So just have a clean social media profile. Don't ruin it in your past. Take stuff down that you think a professional might be dissuaded by when they're looking for interns. I also get asked a lot of the time when I do talks to universities, when can we apply? And Cherna, I know you said, from October, November. I think every agency is different. Our needs are all different, and the amount or the volume of interns we can take on differs. So, for example, we take 2 to 3 interns a year, but that's because we want to employ our interns as account executives at the end. We have a 6-month internship, Trace. You were talking about 12. I think, again, everyone's different, but 6 to 12 months, you get enough experience for the agency or corporate to know if you are hireable or somebody that can join the team. And obviously there needs to be a position available. So when to apply, also your timing has to be right. I think personalize your email. When we get a lot of dear hiring manager, hi. So it's also on your side to just Google the agency you're looking for, whether it's Dialogue or Clockwork or whoever, and just go, who is the HR manager or who is the MD if there is no HR, and just say, hi Nikki, or hi Nicola, or hi Tracy, hi Cherna, hi Claire. Just that little extra step that we know you actually have done your research and you're not bombing this out, which you are, because we were all there once. But just make us feel a little bit more like you really want to join our agency when you're applying.
Love that. I couldn't have said it better. Thank you. My pet peeve is when it's like, dear hiring agency or dear other agency, not my agency. And then it's all, then it's just a spray and pray approach, and that's not great. So thank you. I think that's all some very valuable nuggets for all our students on the line. I'm going to ask the next question of Claire, because I know that you authored this incredible charter, which was a huge body of work. And I think I'd love for you just to explain maybe to our agency and corporate partners on the webinar with us today, the purpose of it and how it can support and sort of give best practice and direction in terms of minimizing time spent, but optimizing the efficiency of running internship programs in our agencies and our corporate offices. Maybe you can allude a little bit more to the detail behind that charter.
Yeah, sure, Tracy. Yeah, it was definitely something built out of the insights from the survey, as you mentioned earlier. And I think what's come up in the discussion as well is around that need for mentorship, around that need for having proper structures in place, ensuring that both students and agencies and corporates get the most value out of this internship program. So the charter is there as a best practice guideline, and it also gives a bit of the insight into some of the ethical ways that both students, agencies, or corporates can approach an internship charter, approach an internship, and that's what the charter is there to do. So it does lay out a bit of a roles and responsibilities from both agency or corporate side and what the students are also expected to do. And, some of the points are around making sure that the internship is not just about getting people tea and coffee. It's about making sure that there is a structured learning program in place, that there is a network within the structure within the agency or corporate that people can go to, that they can speak to other people if they need help or guidance. And one of the other key things as well, because internships can be left alone or be a bit loose in terms of their structure, one of the key things that we wanted to include was around giving regular feedback and review. And that's for both the student and for the corporate or agency. So as agencies, we want to know how the experience is going for you and also be able to share that feedback in terms of how you're doing. And sometimes what I've found as well is that people go on a journey to do a course in PR or a diploma or degree or what have you. And once they actually get into the environment, they find that this maybe isn't the right place for them, but that doesn't mean that they can't continue to learn and grow and get that work experience. So it really is about having that honest and open feedback throughout the process.
100%. No, brilliant. Thank you. And I mean, that leads to you, Nicky, because, out of the charter, you then developed sort of the PRCA playbook for running successful internships, both for agencies and students. Maybe you also want to talk to maybe the templates that exist in the playbook and how we can now dive into the detail of what, Claire's charter actually positions it as.
Yeah. So the charter is to make agencies and corporates accountable to the industry, and that what we say we're going to do, we promise and we deliver. The playbook was designed because I think a lot of us don't actually know where to begin. We don't know where to start, whether you're an agency owner or, there's a lot of agencies popping up. There's a lot of legacy agencies. I mean, a lot of us have been around for a long, long time. We know what we're doing, but agencies who are starting don't know where to begin. They don't know how to hire. They don't know how to recruit. They don't know where to look. They might just get an email in their inbox going, "Who?" And that is our responsibility then to manage from an agency perspective, to manage the program holistically. From the intern side, it gives you a how-to, guys. It gives you a process of from where do I start to how do I apply to how do I be professional, how do I conduct myself in an interview? Once I've interviewed and I don't hear back, what do I do? Or set the expectation in the interview, what are the next steps for me? So you can ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask in your interview, what are the next steps? When can I expect to hear back? If you're unsuccessful, what do you do then? Keep trying, keep going, keep pushing. Then you've landed the interview. What do you do? So it's literally a step-by-step guide to get you through this whole process. And I think it's really needed because we, at the end of the day, we're creating new PR professionals, highly intelligent individuals. I've never had an intern who isn't completely capable and ready for the workplace after that internship. So we know who we're dealing with. We know everyone needs that internship. We have a responsibility, but please also understand that it's a lot of time investment from the agency and corporate to get you to a point where you are in a work-ready environment, where you can be employable, where you can go to another agency with your CV and say, I have 6 months of great experience. So that's the handbook, and it's divided into 2 sections. So you obviously read what is relevant to you.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, you've summed it up. Yeah, Claire.
Yeah, just to add to that, I mean, it is a lot of investment that goes into working out what an internship program looks like, the structure of it, etc. And I feel like that what we've done here through the PRCA, we've been able to give both corporates and agencies a bit of an opportunity to have a starting point around that, because it can be quite time consuming as well. And I think as well, just to add on to a point that was brought up earlier, not to underestimate that onboarding process. And it's not just necessarily the onboarding of like, these are the clients that you're going to be involved with or working on, but an onboarding of the work environment. How are roles and behaviors expected? How are you expected to show up in a professional environment? I think that's really important as well. That gets taken into account when bringing in interns into your work environment, that there is that proper onboarding and deep dive into the work environment.
100%. Cherna, is there anything you want to add to that? I know you do this a lot.
Yeah, I think just to echo a lot of Nicky and Claire's sentiments around it takes a lot for an agency to take on an intern. And it's a different environment for every agency across the country. We all do it differently. But I think as second years coming into the industry or third years coming into the industry, there's a huge learning gap. The growth curve for an intern coming into a professional environment, it's quite steep. You're also a full-time student and you're taking on the responsibilities of being an intern and trying to, apply yourself within that work environment. And so I think it's very important for the intern coming in to appreciate what is required to and the privilege it is to have them there, but also for them to understand that it is a transition phase and that they need to lean into the discomfort of knowing that, there's this program or this internship that they're applying for, and there's also the academic requirements from the actual university in order for them to graduate. So really, it's probably, if I'm truly honest, it's probably going to be a really hard year in terms of juggling all those responsibilities and being accountable to different people. An agency environment is quite time pressured. You're going to feel the pressure of, what is required for you to be able to do your job. But really for you to know that it really is a year of growth, or 6 months of discomfort and growth for you to get the experience that you need. And often, the things you learn at university, then applying that to the real world and the professional environment. And so, you need to know that it's not going to be a walk in the park. It's going to be a huge sort of period for you to adjust and transition as you go from student into the professional environment.
Yes, I used a very simplistic analogy the other day. I said your internship is a gym, not a spa. So it's not about I'm an intern in your agency now.
Yes.
Give me. It's a gym. So what you put in is what you get out. So that's the most basic analogy I can use to kind of sum up all that incredible advice that all three of you have given. Thank you so much for that. We are going to be heading into the chat room soon, or more specifically into the Q&A section, which is at the bottom of everybody's screens. So like I said in the beginning, I'm sure a lot of questions have come up both for agency owners and corporate PRCA members, as well as some of our students who we've spent quite a lot of time on sort of giving some insight and value to. So I'm going to go into the Q&A now and take some questions from our incredible audience. And the first one that's come up is really from Nkosi, who's on the call with us. And she's asked us to explain the ideal layout or appearance of a strong CV template for interns in PR or comms. She's curious about design specifics such as font choice, section layout, color, spacing that makes the CV visually appealing and professional. Are there any key elements that should be highlighted or avoided in terms of formatting to make a CV more effective at capturing attention? Great. So who from our panel would like to address that one? That's an excellent question.
My first feedback or piece of advice is please don't have any spelling errors in your CV, because as communicators and writers and professionals, it's the first thing that will catch my eye. And then I get completely distracted from everything else that is there because you've spelled something incorrectly. I don't think it matters too much. Look, it needs to look professional, and there are plenty of templates online. That's why we have technology. That's why you have Google. That's why you have Canva. There are really beautiful ways to create a CV. One question I'm actually going to ask all of you ladies is, do you think there should be a picture in a CV?
Personally, yes. It's a big one for me. And the only reason why is that if I'm looking at 80 CVs, I can't remember the copy on every single page, but I can remember a face. So it's the one thing that I can associate a memory to and say, oh, yes, that was one that I really loved. So personally, it would be a 2 cents yes from me.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, so
I
on the
also
picture,
like it.
Don't make it a selfie in your car looking seductive. Get a friend to take the picture for you, sitting at a desk or sitting in a restaurant, however you want it to be. Just make that picture also a little bit more professional, so we know you're taking this seriously.
You are a brand. How do you want your brand to be represented? Because we're in the business of building brands in our professional business. You are now a brand coming into our agency, and you're going to be representative of us and our agency or our corporate environment. So you've got to live your brand and say, what is, putting my best foot forward going to look like on my CV and my social presence, etc. To Nicky's point earlier. Sorry, Rifqah, you had something to add?
Yes. I think a picture says a lot as well about a person. So, you talk about getting someone to take that picture. I think if someone gives you a picture of themselves and they haven't taken the professionalism of taking a photo into consideration, it already gives you an idea as to the type of person that person is. So I think a picture it can also tell you a lot about a person visually.
Yeah, 100%. As you say, a picture tells 1,000 words, right? So you've got to use it to your best advantage. Absolutely. Okay, another question that has landed in our Q&A box below, and I encourage more people to add because we've still got sort of 20 minutes left to add value to your lives. Are there any common mistakes or behaviors from past interns that applicants should avoid to make a positive impression? So in other words, what are some of the do's and don'ts? Again, very excellent question. open it up to the floor. Who would like to take a stab at that?
Yeah, I think from my side, a big do is to, come to work on time, be available online if you are in a hybrid environment. It makes a very big difference. It demonstrates your commitment to the internship. So that's a big do for me. And I think a don't would be getting too caught up in sort of office politics or office gossip, that sort of thing. That can be a real big deterrence, and that's something to avoid during your internship.
100%, Jay. Nikki?
Yeah, no. I think understand the culture of the organization you're joining from the get-go, whether you find that out yourself or you have that, in your onboarding and briefing session, but just understand the expectations from you. And please understand that you are junior. So there are going to be tasks that you have to learn, not that we're trying to shove onto you just because we don't feel like doing them. Again, we've all been there. I did my internship back in the early 2000s. I was paid 200 Rand a week, and I was given all the admin in the world. And I never complained once because I knew there was a greater purpose to what this was all about. And it was explained to me, you have to know the basics in order to do the big stuff. So, yeah, just show your willingness to be involved, offer your help. If you are a little bit bored or you've completed your to-do list in 5 seconds because you're so brilliant, offer your help to other teams. Go to your mentor and go, I've finished with this. I see there's a brainstorm. Can I join it? Or I see that this team is talking about new business. Can I help? So just show your willingness to get involved. Don't be scared. And if somebody says no to you, that's okay, but they'll remember that you asked. So just make yourself available, make yourself memorable, make yourself shine. And those are the people we remember, and those are the people we hire.
100%. Yeah, no, I think one of the key questions that came up on our event the other day is to say, like, as PR professionals who have been in the industry a long time, we're very aware that, coming out of tertiary education, the theory side, and we know that our job is to help teach those skills to you that you're going to need for a very, a brilliant career. But what we're looking for is mindset. And if you've got that mindset that is, use your initiative, take responsibility, have accountability for your work. When you make a mistake, own it, learn from it, move forward really quickly. And most importantly, say yes to things, even if it terrifies you, because yes, you're going to be so out of your comfort zone and so out of your depth, but that's what you have to own. And bear in mind that we, even as senior professionals, sometimes walk into a boardroom and are asked to do something that we have got no idea how to do. And we also have, searing imposter syndrome many times, but it is just the job. We get on with it, we find a way, we look for answers and solutions, and we just run with it. So have that problem-solving mindset that doesn't go to your manager and say, well, I don't know how to do this. Say, I'm a bit stuck. I think this is the solve. Do you agree? Because if you say yes, then I'm going to run with this direction. So don't go with problems as someone, go with I'm stuck or confused, but this is what I think. Can you guide me? So I think just having that mindset as well will set you up for success, even if you do stumble along the way sometimes, which is, we all do that.
Yeah.
Do you think I hope we've covered off that question that was asked for the person that asked it earlier. So anyone have anything to add before we move on to another question? We good?
Can I come from a educational perspective? And I've seen it a lot with our interns that, end up getting fired from wherever they're working. And we've dealt with a lot of cases this year where some of the deep concerns were, yes, a student should come in with a certain amount of professionalism, but listening to the cases and getting both sides of it, I've also seen that there's a lack of communication between the intern and the organization. So, I think organizations also need to look at how they communicate with these individuals, and professionalism, or how you conduct yourselves professionally, goes both ways. So, sending your requirements on WhatsApp shouldn't be okay, because you wouldn't expect the intern to send a WhatsApp asking questions. So I think that's also something that I just, thought I'd throw in there.
Yes, WhatsApp is not a professional channel of communication to your agencies that you're applying to.
Yeah.
Yes, no, very valid points there, Rifqah, 100%.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's the advantage of the charter as well, is that it will hopefully create that level of professionalism and working both ways, making sure that both agency, corporate, students, etc., are accountable and know what is required. And what is helpful as well is that once we've shared that charter, it is something that we are encouraging agencies to actually sign and commit to. And the PRCA will be sharing a badge that sort of demonstrates that we are committed to ethical internships, ethically run internships. And I think for interns who are looking to, apply to agencies, that's definitely something to consider. And even in the interview process, I mean, there's stacks of resources, I think, where you can ask questions to get a sense of what is the work environment like here? What is that culture? What are the red flags that might come up? Because there will be those instances. So find ways to empower yourselves as well during that interview process and your research.
100% clear. Yeah, if I'm looking at the Q&A, there's a lot of questions coming in around like, what are some of the the KPIs, like what are we being measured against, etc. And I think it comes back to some of the earlier points raised around the playbook will have all of that referenced in the playbook for agencies and for interns, so that should manage expectations, but also ask questions. It comes up all the time. There's no such thing as a silly question, because what is worse is sitting there wondering about things and letting time go on for a week when you could have asked the question up front and achieved something in the week that's just passed. So ask questions and kind of be upfront around where you need help and clarity on. Are there anything anyone wants to add? I'm going to pop into our Q&A and see where else we can take some questions. Maybe there's some questions from agencies or corporates that are struggling with a lot of. I know we've done a lot on the student side. I'm just looking at how we can help on the agency side. Oh, dress code, that's come up. What is the dress code or look for a PR intern during the course of the internship or PR career? Go, Nikki.
Cool. So again, every agency is different, but my advice to you is dress professionally. Follow the lead of the leader in your agency or the leadership team in your agency. See how they come to work every day. I do have a fun story. We had a case where an employee refused to wear a bra to work, and we tried to approach it, but it's really, really, really tricky. So instead of like getting it head on, we created a dress code policy. So I think where you do trust your gut, trust your instinct. We're in a professional environment. We're dealing with corporates. We're dealing with people who dress professionally too, most of the time. So yeah, I would say always cover your shoulders. That's my number one on a dress code. If you're a female, cover your shoulders. It just comes across as a little bit more professional. And then the rest you can figure out. But yeah, I think we are all human and adult enough to know what not to wear in a work environment. We're not working at a bar. We're in an agency. We're in a corporate, and we need to be taken seriously.
I think that you've absolutely nailed it, on that sense, Nikki, is that, if, and this is the analogy that I've used, like sometimes, things happen on the fly in the day and a client's like, oh, Tracy, I've got a gap. Do you mind coming in? I'd like to chat to you about something. And if I look around my agency and look to see who is right for that client, I might say to the intern, why don't you join us? Let's pop in and you can have some boardroom experience in terms of participating in a client meeting. But if you've come to work that specific day with like flip-flops and like frayed jeans and maybe a midriff top, then you're going to be staying in the office while I and the rest of the team go to that client meeting, because you wouldn't be representative of our agency or the meeting and the discussion that we're about to have. So just kind of gauge it through, like, if those things happen on the fly, would I be considered to go along? And then just judge it from that. But yeah, to your point, we are brands. Our agencies are brands representing others. So we all just need to use that as a guide as well. I hope that answers the question adequately for everyone else that was wondering. Other do's and don'ts. ladies? What would be some of our top 3 do's and don'ts? I think that's a nice one because I think it's different for everybody.
Of internships?
Mm-hmm.
I can talk for days,
I think
but somebody else.
Danae, take a
I think
stand.
from our side, sure. I think do your research on the agency. It's really important before you apply and when you end up being shortlisted and actually invited to an interview. I think follow the correct channel. So if the agency says to apply, send your CV to, like that is the process that they need to be adhered to. I think make sure that you meet all your recruitment deadlines or milestones. So in some instances, agencies would give you a writing brief or they would give you an interview opportunity. Make sure that you arrive on time, and then to Nicky and Tracy's point, just ensure that for that interview you are well groomed because first impressions do last. I mean, the final one perhaps is prepare questions for the agency. So as much as you are invited and we are explaining the role, come and ask us questions about the opportunity, the program, the do's and the don'ts, what you can do, start time, all of those kinds of things. We often find that, we're doing a lot of talking in these opportunities, but we really do want you to also ask questions and, find out, about our culture and more about, the work environment and all those kinds of things. So that would be my do's and don'ts.
Brilliant. 100%.
Yeah. And then there's a couple of questions. The one that I just wanted to pick up was somebody querying around how do they demonstrate their work experience that might not be specific to PR. And again, it goes to the question around a CV and what you should put on your CV. So if you have waitressed, if you have worked in a bar, if you have, I don't know, done farm work, which is part of the question we've got here, that's great. That is experience. And it's about how you articulate that on your CV. It's not just I worked at a bar for 3 months over December. Tell me about your responsibility that you were given. Tell me about the customer service you had to give. So find ways to because that's the skill set that we're looking for, not necessarily the actual experience of the work. Understandably, you're not going to have that. So that would be a big call out for me. And another person's just asking in terms of shifts in the PR landscape and what to be looking at or what interns should be exploring. And I think one thing that we as agencies are grappling with is around generative AI and AI tools and work tools, etc. And I think it's about exploring those tools that are going to help you in your job, but also being quite clear. Again, I'm doing the ethics thing today, being quite clear on like best practice when it comes to using those tools and how to use it, because they are time savers and they are great for your work environment and your day-to-day. So it's just about making sure that you're doing it ethically and appropriately, because
transparently,
agencies are bringing that kind of technology into their working environment.
I absolutely love what you said there, Claire. It's such a valid point, and it's maybe something that could be of huge value to our students on the call, is that, and a lot of us have been waitresses before going into a professional environment, right? Because that's what we have to put petrol in our cars with. But when you're alluding to the fact that you have been a waitress, to Claire's point, it's not about I was a waitress at this restaurant for this period of time. What did you learn in terms of handling difficult customers or being in conflict situations or being under time pressure, how you managed your time under pressure? Those are all soft skills in that environment that are now lessons that can equip you going into an agency. So lean into that. That's exactly what Claire is saying. It's absolutely fantastic, because suddenly you're turning like 3 years of a waitress into skills that you can now bring into a professional environment. So that's such good advice. I love that. And then you can apply that same lesson, I think, to anything that you've kind of been exposed to. It's like, how are these skills or lessons that I can now bring across? I love that. Yeah. Okay, so guys, I think we're kind of ending off. I think we could all talk for days, but I hope that we've covered off most of the burning questions for a lot of our incredible students that have joined us on the line today. And I hope, Rifqah, knowing the students, as intimately as you do from your side, that we've tried to give as much insight and shares and advice that we possibly can to just help this this next year coming up of 2025 just be an incredible year of success for all the interns looking to be placed, and that we as agency owners and corporate members can hold ourselves accountable and do the very best that we can to create that safe space and environment that, like I said earlier, that everyone can just thrive and grow, and close that understanding gap between where they're at and what we're at, and how we're really hoping to meet in the middle for the mutual benefit of everybody. So just to end off, Joe, I know you're listening in the background there, can you maybe just share with everybody how they can get their hands on all this information? I know that a couple of questions were asked, firstly around the transcript, because I know this was a recorded webinar. So for people wanting to listen to it again, who could not have stayed for the full period of time, or who are looking for the charter and are looking for the playbook, can you maybe just share where and how they can go about accessing that information for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So along with this recording, we will send a resource pack. So that will include the charter, and it will include the handbook, and it will also include those 2 reports that we released last week as well. So anybody who has registered for this event, it will be sent to that email address.
Amazing. If I can just take a last closing minute in our last couple of minutes, I would just like to say a huge thank you to my PRCA member and promotion board, who's made up of Nicky and Claire, who is our panelists today, but also to Lerato and Paulo from the agency Opinion in Public, and also to Peter, who is at Razor PR, who as a board, everyone has given so much of their time and just lent in and said yes, and given time, energy, and insight into creating these incredible pieces of work that I think are going to live on and just bring so much value to the industry and leave it in a better place than when we started at the beginning of this year. And I know you've done it juggling all, your own work, your families, your relationships, and you've still put your hands up and said, yes, I will do this. So from me to all of you, a huge big thank you for everything that you contribute to this amazing industry that we get to serve. From all of us, and from all of us on the panel and on our webinar today, I hope that everyone that has joined us and has been a part of the conversation can take away 1 or 2 things. They may not be able to do everything, but maybe just try and grab onto 2 or 3 of the pieces of information that were shared today, and just use that to make next year an incredibly successful and rewarding and successful year for you in the most exciting time of your lives, which is the start of your careers. We are here for you. We want to nurture you. We want to make you a success. And we look forward to meeting you all in the future. May our paths cross very soon. And that would be us. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you very much for joining.
Thanks, everybody.